Hi, everyone. I'm Dennis Prager. Welcome to my home, my dog, my fireside, and the fireside chat. I do this every week. When I started this, I thought, I don't know, will people really get into this? Me just talking to you completely spontaneously and taking questions? Well, the answer is yes. People have, which is wonderful. I'm very happy about that. I really do share with you my most serious and light thoughts, but very personal things as well. It's interesting. I was thinking about it. I always say it's spontaneous, not scripted, which is true. That's a plus because it's so real. But there's a downside, to be honest, because I often think afterwards, wow, had I prepared this, I would have added this point or I would have added that point. So it's like everything else in life, there is nothing that doesn't come with a price. By the way, it's one of the most important lessons of life. Whenever we buy something, we ask, what's the price? You should do that about everything in life. What's the price? What is the price of getting married? What is the price of staying single? What is the price of having children? What is the price of not having children? That's how one should think about everything. Generally, we think about the price in only one direction and make a very often very wrong decision as a result. I ought to do this. What does it cost? It's a big subject. We should do that. So I had a whole series of thoughts about what I'd open up with. By the way, this is Otto, in case you didn't know. Can you see Otto's face, or is it hidden behind the chair today? Otto is so funny. Do you know just this week, Fox and Friends, the Fox News program, came to my home and to interview me for their show. And when Otto saw people coming in with cameras and lights, he thought, oh, time for me to pose. And sure enough, he, take my position. And he took his position. It was very funny. Didn't move the entire broadcast. Be that as it may, I was going to talk about a number of things, but it was suggested to me that I share with you some thoughts on the attack on me and PragerU on a show called Samantha Bee's Full Frontal, right? So I had not been familiar with it prior, but that doesn't mean anything. I haven't watched TV since high school. It's very, very rare that I watch TV, and if I do, it tends to be when I'm on the road, just getting into my hotel room and unpacking. And I usually will listen to a book, but sometimes I'll turn on the TV, and if I do, it will be Forensic Files. these incredibly riveting, true stories of crime. So, in other words, I'm not a big TV person. And as I said, I never was, and I'm not sure why, but it is what it is. Anyway, now I obviously have heard of her show. She is apparently a comedian, and this is not meant, I don't trade insult for insult. I did not find the 8 minutes, which is a lot, that she devoted to PragerU funny. By the way, sometimes I hear people I don't agree with or even attacking me, and I think they are funny. I can laugh at my expense, just for the record. I'm pretty secure. But I didn't find anything particularly funny or even non-particularly funny. But I'll tell you what is interesting about the attack. And it was unfortunately so typical of what folks on the left do about PragerU all the time. They make these generalized statements. Oh, it's a right-wing propaganda place. It's filled with lies. But 99% of the time, they never give one example. If you're ever on some chat board, if that's the word, or, is that the word, chat board? Where people are dialoguing with each other, the comment section or on Twitter. Or a thread, and that comes up, oh, it's just propaganda, or please say, could you just give me one or two examples? Do you know, I have been writing and lecturing all of my life. I Everything I do is filled with examples. That is my modus operandi is make a generalized statement, then give example. Generalized statement, then an example. Because why should you take my word for it if I don't give you example? If I say, which I often do, the left ruins everything it touches, I give you example after example. From journalism to the innocence of children, to late night television, to American football, universities, high schools, the Boy Scouts. I mean, I just give example after example. Without examples, we don't know what you're talking about. So she made the usual claims, and of course they go, oh, it's not really a university. And I've dealt with this on many occasions. We announce on the opening page we're not an accredited university. You're simply free to learn. Do they acknowledge it is possible to learn at a place that the government has not accredited as a university? Is that possible? By the way, is the definition, and I've never established this, is the definition of a university a place that is accredited? Then clearly we're not a university. I will acknowledge that. But I never thought that was the definition. All the universities that existed prior to modern accreditation, were they not universities? The idea that the government has to affirm you in order for you to be what you are is alien to my form of thinking. And by the way, for the record, which of course she never mentioned, nor do any of our critics, it's just worth noting, and if you ever do defend PragerU and in some forum, please note this, that we have professors from MIT, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Stanford, University of California, astrophysicists from UCSD. We have 4 Pulitzer Prize winners. We have 3 former prime ministers. 3 or 4 prime ministers. I mean, now, would any of these people make videos for a place that was a propaganda mill? These people put their reputation on the line. We have never Trumpers like the great American Pulitzer Prize winning columnist George Will. And likewise, Bret Stephens. They loathe Donald Trump. They make videos, have made, and continue to make. So I am honored. I am truly honored by the distinguished people. She showed Daniel Hannan as an example of a silly thing. Daniel Hannan is a member of the European Parliament from Britain. He is a major intellectual in his writings and in his speeches. The man just emits intelligence. The thought that Samantha Bee would even be on the same stage as Daniel Hannan or any of the other people that she mocked, she is relying on the fact that most of her audience knows nothing. I'm sorry to say, and they don't. Oh, PragerU, oh, it's right-wing. They've been brainwashed into believing right-wing means unworthy of listening. But that's really foolish and self-destructive, because you'll never intellectually grow if you believe that. I want to thank her, though. She brought us $50,000 and counting. We didn't even ask for it. Just people saying, "Oh, I'm giving money just to show you, that this will backfire on her." And the number of people she has brought to listening, I read the threads. I'm fascinated by comments. People saying, I never heard of this place. I'm gonna watch it now. Good. You watch it. You watch 5 videos. You tell us if you think it's a propaganda mill, or if we've told one lie in 400 videos. You have no idea how much fact-checking all of our videos involve. Anyway, I hate lies. I so hate lies that I edit ad copy for my radio show. Because if an advertiser claims something that isn't true, I drop it or I reword it. I'll give you just a tiny, and they're all little examples, but that's how much I care about truth. There's a thing where the radio show host will say, And exclusive to my listeners, if you use the promo code Dennis or Prager, you get 25% off. It's a common thing. I never say, though, exclusive to my listeners. I drop those words because other talk show hosts have the same deal with using their name as a code word, as a password. So it's not true. And I don't say, I say my listeners will get 25% off if they use the promo code Dennis or Prager, whatever it is. That's true, but it's not exclusive. So I dropped the word exclusive. I care very deeply about truth. I'm actually passionate about it. She gave one of the examples. She opened up with the example to show you how ludicrous Prager University is. She gave the example with me, wherein I'm saying, well, how do you know murder is wrong? It's a giveaway as to the shallowness of Samantha Bee and her audience. She used that as if it was evidently stupid. But it's one of the most important questions the human being can wrestle with. How do you know? Not how do you feel, not how do you opine. How do you know murder is wrong? She never heard the question. It's too deep for her and her audience. And that's the truth. That's why they laugh. Oh, is that a joke? How do you know murder's wrong? It's unbelievable to me. I watched it and I thought, really? That's worthy of laughter? And one final word. There is one of my 1,000 or so, or nearly 1,000 columns up on the internet is titled "How the Left Keeps Me Religious," and it's a very important column that I wrote a number of years ago, and it's true. These people and the left generally, they reinforce everything I believe. They've had a disastrous effect on civilization, but and I don't mean liberals, I mean leftists. But they've had a very positive impact on me personally because they have reinforced the truth and the validity of what I believe. So this show had that impact. And then she made fun of how I look. And it has no, for your knowledge, in case you're curious, it has no impact on me. She compared me, she said, I look like a serial killer. And I remember thinking, it's actually a pretty good picture of me. So how exactly is that important? And then I thought further, how does a serial killer look? I don't have an image in my mind of a serial killer. I have an image of an MS-13 gang member, tattooed up the neck and onto the head and face. But I have a picture of a serial killer. So that wasn't even funny. Anyway, I've never presented myself as the next Robert Redford, but I wouldn't say I'm ugly. I don't walk around with either self-image. It's just, but I'll tell you what is amazing, that I've always believed the left is mean. I've believed this my whole life since I saw them rip my campus apart when I was at graduate school in the 1970s. There's a tremendous amount of meanness on the left, much more than on the right. And this notion of making fun of people's looks, and by the way, President Trump did it with Ted Cruz's wife. I thought it was disgusting, by the way. I believe this across the board. And it was uncalled for. It was wrong, and I'm consistent. I don't care who does it. It doesn't negate all the good he has done as president, but I don't defend everything that he has said. But that is the norm on the left. Ann Coulter was present one evening where leftists were supposed to roast somebody else, and the cruelty directed to her was just extraordinary. There's a tremendous amount of cruelty on the left. What they did to Brett Kavanaugh, That was cruel. It had no moral basis, and what they did to the man. So, just some thoughts on what went on. Thank you all. And now, time for your questions. We always begin with a video question.
Hi, my name is Jessica Goblish. I am 28 years old and I'm from Monrovia, California in the San Gabriel Valley. I really believe that healthy families are a strong building block to a healthy United States. And while I'm single and I'm not a mom, I have a parenting question. There's a lot of focus on celebrating achievements that pertain to academics, to sports, and to other extracurricular activities. But how can parents find balance in also teaching their kids to be good, to be kind, and to have good character?
Well, Jessica of Monrovia, California, you asked my favorite question. I think I wrote about this. I think I wrote about it recently in one of my columns. I raised my own two boys with the belief that character was infinitely more important than grades. So I actually never bugged them for their grades, and I didn't actually, I know it sounds like I was a bad parent, but I really didn't care what their grades were. Character was everything. Because first of all, in the long run, you will do much better in life, and I don't only mean morally, you will simply be more successful with a good character and lousy grades than great grades and lousy character. Now, can you have both? Of course, that's fine. But in the long run of life, life is it's a cliche, but it's a good one. Life is not a sprint; it's a marathon. And there's a lot of life after success. What do you do after? Let's say you attain success, which always means material success. Let's say you've attained it. What do you do then? What do you do afterwards? What do you do when you retire? I know when you're 25, you don't think about that, but you're going to live a long time. I don't believe the earth is coming to an end in 11 years, just for the record. You're going to live a long time, probably. Most of you, probably to 100. That's a long time. Are you going to you're going to pursue success for 75 more years? It's not likely. So character is going to get you a lot further than good grades. So I fully agree with you, Jessica of Monrovia. That's exactly right. That's what parents should in fact emphasize. I don't know if I've said it on a Fireside chat, but I know I've said it on my radio show and in an article. Tell your kid to answer an adult who asks him or her, "So, what do you want to be when you grow up?" Tell your kid to answer, "A good person." Now, the beauty of that is, A, you're giving your kid moral instruction, which is the most important thing you can do. But B, is to monitor the adult's reaction. That's what I would love to know what's the adult who asked it, what the person's reaction would be. I think most adults would go, "Gee, that's really nice, but what do you want to be?" As if being a good person, gee, that's nothing. But what do you really want to be? Oh, a lawyer. Oh, now we're talking. Okay. So, Jessica, you got it right. Anyway, let me just ask you a question, folks. Would the world be a better place if everybody raised their kids to be good, or if everybody raised their kids to be a good student? I'll leave it there. Okay. Paul, 28, Oregon, USA. Many people sarcastically summarize progressive social policies as, quote, giving out free stuff. If a government has the luxury to give out free stuff, What's wrong, or is there anything inherently wrong with that? Well, there's no such thing as free stuff, first of all. What does that mean, free stuff? Does the government grow money on trees? That would be the only way to get free stuff. And anyway, you'd have to pay to plant a tree. What does it mean, free stuff? It means you're taking away money from somebody else to give it to them, right? Or you're printing so much money that you didn't take it from others, in which case you will collapse your economy because whatever your currency is won't be worth anything. The only way to give out free money is to print it. Or that's the only free money there is. All other money costs. You've taken it from somebody else who has presumably legitimately, morally, and legally earned their money. So there's no such thing as free stuff in that way. But there is another inherent problem. What does it do to the recipient? Getting things for free is not good for you. It just isn't. You know what my favorite verb is? Some of you might know this because I know I mentioned this before. My favorite verb is 4 letters, and it's not love. My favorite verb is earn. I think we should earn everything. I think we should earn our money and not be given it for free. I think we should earn love from our spouse and from our friends. I think we should earn respect. I think we should earn self-esteem. I think we should earn happiness. There is no unearned happiness. It's all earned. We try to give all this stuff away free, like free self-esteem. It's bogus. It's phony. I'll tell you a story that had a big impact on me. I was 25 when I wrote my first book, and I was appointed at the age of 27 to head an educational institution in California, a Jewish educational institution. My first book was on Judaism, and it became a very popular book. It's still in print. It's called The 9 Questions People Ask About Judaism. So at my expense, because authors get very few free books, at my expense, I brought a couple of boxes of books to a speech I gave at the Institute. They had a summer camp, as well as adult weekends and retreats and college-age summer retreat. They had a summer camp for kids. So I decided I'm going to give all the camp counselors a free copy of my book. I was 27 years old, and one good trait I have is I learn. I learn quickly. By the 5th book, I learned I made a big mistake. None of them valued the book because they got it for free. It was obvious in their body language. That book was not going to be opened. I should have bought it all back for them for $1 each. Had I charged $1, they would have valued the book. What you get for free, you don't value. It has a corrosive effect on society. Watch my speech. It's on the internet. University of Wyoming, How Socialism Makes You Selfish. That'd be an example, too, of what I'm saying. Amelia, 25, Indonesia. Hi, Mr. Prager. Hi, Amelia. Love your fireside chats. So do I. I have watched every single one of them. Really? Well, I can match you. I've given every one of them. I so wish to meet you one day. I would love that. I'm a Chinese Indonesian who is currently studying in Beijing. What do you think of the argument that China's outstanding progress in multiple fields aside from human rights protection was only possible under a communist government? What do you think China's future holds? Thank you so much. Well, I never heard that argument, to be honest, that China's, I mean, we're talking really about it. It's one area of progress. I mean, we're not exactly getting medical discoveries from China to the best of my knowledge, like we are from the West, but or Israel. Well, Israel's part of the West, but the success has been financial, material, and by the way, it's been enormous. When I was a child, my mother would say, you know, finish the food, think of the starving kids in China. And that's now we're thinking of China as an economic superpower. But it's not because of communism. It's because of capitalism. It's such a bizarre notion that people will attribute to communism. Where in the history of communism has communism made a country wealthier? Communism makes countries poorer. Look at Cuba. Look at Venezuela. Look at Eastern Europe under the Soviet Union. Look at the Soviet Union. They allowed capitalism while staying a dictatorship. That's what allowed China to grow. So it's amazing that anybody would argue that all wealth, all raising of people from poverty, which has been done unprecedentedly in the last 100 years, is thanks to capitalism. Billions of people. What do you think China's future holds? I am very pessimistic, to be honest, because tyrannies don't have bright futures. Samuel, 30 years old, Utah. I have a cousin in the new Broadway show, Jagged Little Pill. Have you heard of that? I got a peek at their playbill today. In the bio section, every actor leads their small paragraph with their preferred pronouns. How do you like that? I got to see that. I find it incredible how far is the reach of the self-identifying radical leftist gender theory. In predominantly leftist communities such as Broadway performers, why have they so enthusiastically latched onto these radical ideas? What is the end game here? I'd love to hear your take on this. I'd love some Prager wisdom. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I got to tell you, the herd instinct is very powerful in the human species. And you see it everywhere, and you see it particularly in the acting profession. These people want to be loved more than anything else in life, which is a very bad thing. Have I talked about who you should be loved by? Have I done a opening thing? Take a look, okay?
Touched on it.
Touched, but not emphasized, not an opener. They want to be loved. And you're not going to be loved if you say, you know, give me a break, preferred pronoun. I'm not going in that direction. By the way, let me tell you why the preferred pronoun. I know I should do a whole thing on this. I don't have a problem at all with a person who is transgender. If you have changed from female to male, you look male, dress male, have a male name, what do I care? I wouldn't even know that you're transgender, correct? So there would be no need for you to give me a preferred pronoun. You look like Tom, you dress like a Tom, you have the name Tom, then you're he. This is not a transgender issue. This is an issue of those who wish to deliberately provoke the public, the society in which they live, into accepting the idea that there is no gender. So I'll make one up for me, he or she or they. But for 95, 99% of the transgender, this is not an issue. These are people, if I identify as a woman, I want to look like a woman. I want to have a woman's name. I want you to think I'm a woman. Caitlyn Jenner, right? I mean, there's no issue there. You don't think Bruce when you see Caitlyn Jenner. You think Caitlyn Jenner, female. You may know this person's past, but if you met Caitlyn Jenner on the street, you would say ma'am. You would say her. I don't have an issue with that. I mean, I think it's a price paid by children to have their father become a woman, but that's entirely a separate issue. So this preferred pronoun stuff is not intellectually or sexually serious. It's just a another form of chaos. That's the end game. You asked the end game. I've asked what the left's end game is my whole life. And then it really, I didn't realize it until relatively recently. There is none. It's chaos. That's the irony. You look at left-wing architecture and artworks and music, and you realize, yes, it's chaos. Atonal music is chaos. Music has tonality and harmony and melody. If you don't have tonality, harmony, or melody, you have sounds. You just have chaotic sounds. I don't know why human beings yearn for chaos. Probably because they don't have a fixed belief system. And I don't even mean religious, just a fixed belief system within them. So when your compass has no accurate direction, you're living in a state of chaos. I wish I could end on a happier note. I'll have to monitor the questions more avidly. Anyway, once again, a thank you to that woman on the TV show for popularizing PragerU, and I gave you some of the responses that we give, and I hope you know them, because we're worthy of defending, because we're doing good work. There isn't a cruel moment in the thousands of hours of PragerU stuff, right? Okay, I'm Dennis Prager, along with Otto. I'll see you next week. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to keep these fireside chats free, please do by donating to PragerU.